Hello and welcome to the TTI Distribution Download, the podcast where we talk about all things happening in the world of electronic components with the specialists of TTI.
Hello everybody and welcome to our third podcast in the series with Harwin and TTI. Joining me again today is Jessica Knight, VP of Sales North America. Welcome Jessica, and good to have you on again.
Thanks John for having me.
So in previous podcasts we've actually touched upon Harwin, gone a little bit about the history, delved into the products and the technology and some of the ranges of products that Harwin are into and developing these days. If we were to look at other aspects of our business or even our industry, is there anything else you'd like to cover?
Yeah, I actually appreciate you giving me this opportunity to touch on a topic that I'm very passionate about, which is women in STEM. I'm an advocate for women in the industry, and I volunteer for an organization called Women in Electronics. I'm very thankful to work for a company like Harwin, who has the same values and who also supports similar women in STEM initiatives.
So certainly most of our listeners are going to be very familiar with women in electronics, but I think STEM may well be a new word for some people on this podcast. Why don't you give us an explanation of what that is?
STEM is an acronym that stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. It refers to an interdisciplinary approach to education and careers that integrates these four fields.
And what exactly is the challenge for women in STEM?
So across the global economy, men are still more likely than women to be in senior roles, and especially the roles at the top of organizations. This is even more true in STEM, where there are particular challenges to recruit and retain females to the workforce. Although STEM fields are widely regarded as critical to national economies, for most countries, no matter their level of development, they haven't achieved gender equality in STEM. We also know that less than a third of female students choose to study higher education courses in subjects like math and engineering, and only 16% of engineers are women. So at the same time, even when they make it in STEM companies, women often earn less than their male counterparts, even though they have the same level of education and experience.
So firstly, maybe looking at the industry side of things, is what can the industry do to help?
So, we need better links between industry and academia that showcase the roles that women can play in STEM. We could also establish mentorship initiatives that connect women students with STEM professionals who can provide invaluable insights and guidance. By highlighting role models who have overcome challenges, companies can inspire young girls to pursue their passion for STEM.
And maybe winding it back even from the industry to an individual level, what can we all do to help?
Right. It's not just about the industry. The problem starts early, whether it's traditional attitudes and stereotypes of STEM roles that are reinforced by parents and schools or unconscious bias among teachers and recruiters. The good news is that there's now a lot of recognition of this problem and a number of organizations that champion women in STEM, including two that Harwin supports, Women's Engineering Society and Women in Electronics.
So Jessica, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about women in electronics?
Certainly. I always like to start with the foundation of what women in electronics is about, and really it's fueled by authenticity, courage, and commitment. Women in electronics, or WE as it's also known as, is a community of progressive leaders at all stages of their careers dedicated to expanding the opportunities for women in the electronics industry, industrial industry, and all related markets. The organization has four common goals. The first being to empower women through virtual discussion groups and in-person networking. The second is to develop women through professional and personal leadership development programs. The third is to advocate through professional career coaching and mentorship programs. And then lastly, really just to celebrate the accomplishments and the advancements of women.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm sure we can all agree those 4 points are very important and very key. I know there's something else that you'd like to get into a little bit. I know something you're very proud of, and that's your status as a volunteer in this organization. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've been volunteering for Women in Electronics for, I think, 6 years now. And I first became involved by leading a local chapter where I live in Southern Ohio, where local members get together to network and give back to the local community. More recently, though, I've leaned into the organization further by signing on as a chapter council member, where I help to implement chapter networking events and increase engagement within the WE chapter program. But as you said, my involvement with Women in Electronics is an aspect of my career that I find very fulfilling. It allows me to engage with and learn from people I typically wouldn't have a chance to interact with as we work to develop a more supportive and inclusive industry. So I'm thankful to work for a company like Harwin and to partner with a company like TTI that also see the value in supporting an organization like Women in Electronics.
Absolutely. And so talking about Harwin itself, why don't you explain to us how they go about supporting women in STEM?
Yeah, so at Harwin, really, we recognize that we can play a key role in supporting women in STEM. The organization has actually founded the Harwin Academy, which partners with university students to get hands-on experience in a STEM-based career. 10% of our workforce actually comes from this academy, and a big focus for us is to attract young women to the program. Harwin also understands the importance of supporting organizations that bring attention to the subject and actively work to make change. So we've joined Women's Engineering Society and actively advertise job vacancies with them. As mentioned earlier, we sponsor employees to become members of Women in Electronics, and we have supported many of their events. From a more internal perspective, we ensure that there's no disparity in pay between individuals at the same level, and we use blind CVs when hiring. And we've also created a training session specifically tailored for our managers, supervisors, and the executive team, which is designed to emphasize the unique dynamics and strengths that men and women bring to the workforce. This training encompasses the recruitment process, managing individuals as individuals, and different challenges faced by men and women in the working world.
Jessica, thanks very much for that. I know obviously this is a point that is very near and dear to our hearts here at TTI as well. We are in fact a platinum sponsor of Women in Electronics, and we are just as committed as yourself and Harwin, and we look forward to bringing more and more women into this business as we move forward together.
Right. We're in this together. It's important for us to bring awareness to the issue and to work collaboratively to find solutions. I'm, again, very thankful to work for Harwin and to work in partnership with TTI, two companies that really understand the issue and hold the same values.
Thank you, Jessica. And that's the end of our podcast. I thank you very much for broaching this subject and being on with us today.
Thank you, John. It's been great being here. I appreciate your time.
Look forward to a future coming podcast between Harwin and TTI with Jessica coming soon.
That's it for this episode of the TTI Distribution Download. For more information on any of the topics you heard about today, reach out to your nearby TTI branch at 1-800-CALL-TTI or visit us online at tti.com.